All right, not much news up at training camp, but this week there could be, and we're going to see more from the offensive line. But before I get into that, Jeff Hathhorn, I want to talk to you about how much trust do they have in Kenny Pickett? And can this team become a down-the-field team, a quick strike team, something they haven't used, and specifically in the middle of the field, which they seem to ignore?
By the way, he wasn't the best Kenny today. Kenny Robinson from Wilkinsburg had 2 picks.
Wow.
Today off Mason
Of
Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph, so they only count for
So
half.
did Elijah Riley the other day. He had one.
But I do think, I think composure is the word that the teammates are using about him, and I think they're going to allow him the opportunity. Pickens admitted that first play of training camp was a bomb to Pickens, and he said that was a sign to everybody else that we're going to open this up more. I do think they're going to trust him a little bit more to go downfield.
I want them to open it up. I don't want them to open up too much, though. I mean, I want them to establish balance, please. This offense is best constituted, and I think we saw it this offseason with what they did for the offensive line. Even after having an effective running game last season, they wanted to get that much better. I want to see Najee Harris touching the ball, especially with the running back storyline in the NFL. I like him a lot, but throw downfield, please. Just don't overdo it.
Well, I think, again, this pains me greatly to do, but I thought Joe Starkey this week on The Fan had a very good characterization for what their passing game needs to be. Everyone says, throw it down the field, bomb it. They did last year very unsuccessfully. They threw tons of go balls. They need a mature adult passing game between 10 and 20 yards where all the really good passing teams in the NFL live with regularity. That's what they need. Yeah, run the ball, do all that, but hit intermediate stuff to open up the defense. I think that's what they really should be shooting for. They had the 6th worst rate of 20-plus yard plays in the league last year. They were 2nd worst in the league in terms of explosive passing. That's just stuff over 16 yards. That's the magic number.
And some of that is not just on Pickett or Canada or Tomlin. It's these receivers getting more yak.
Right.
They need to get more yards after.
I really like Allen Robinson. I think he's going to be good. You brought up running backs, Jason, so let's talk about that. I thought Najee Harris made some good points this week. He did not talk about the Steelers in a negative way, although this time next year maybe that will change because he's not going to get maybe what he wants. But what can these running backs do? They have a CBA that goes until 2030. But hypothetically, if they could do anything to change the fact that they don't get paid a lot of money, what would you suggest they look for?
I don't think this is going to happen, Pomp, but what I think the solution is and what I would like to see done is running back contracts structured differently than the rest of the league. It is an atypical position from everything else. I don't know if that means only 2 years, only 3 years, whatever. Give them more freedom.
If you do that, then everybody else is going to want it too.
I get that, and it's probably not going to work for that reason. And so I ultimately come down to I don't think there's anything that everybody is going to agree upon. It's just unfortunate that they're more disposable than other positions. But it's
I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, you'd say leave college after 1 year if you're physically ready, get into the pros on shorter deals, but that's not even the point necessarily. These guys want more freedom of movement that would confer on them. That sounds nice. Teams just don't value them. They'd say, okay, we'll take some other guy who's a free agent, undrafted player, and he's probably going to be just as good as you. That's the real issue. They're undervalued because the league really has seen that you can find them anywhere. Jaylen Warren is a perfect example of this dynamic. So you say, what can they do? Nothing. It sucks. I actually feel bad for these guys. I know they're making $10, $12 million a year. They deserve more, I guess, but the league has moved in a wildly different direction.
Saquon Barkley accounted for 30% of the offense, and I guarantee you that Daniel Jones benefited salary-wise because of Saquon Barkley. So what would you do, Jeff? If anything, and there could be some give and take with owners.
Yeah, you try to convince the rest of your union brethren that we need to band together and make this change, but it's not going to happen. They won't even get the rest of the running back room because if you say no to $10 million, you think Anthony McFarland won't say, give me 10. You can run my wheels off for a couple of years. I mean, seriously, that's why all these CBAs pass, because there's so many players that make, by NFL standards, league minimum, that they get this stuff passed.
You brought this up earlier. What do you think if the league would say, we want to do away with one more preseason game?
Well, that's their only leverage.
And if they want to do it
band
before
together,
the end of that CBA.
Then that's when they say, okay, for an extra game, you got to do this. Not just for them, but I think they would have to do it overall, whether that's eliminating franchise tags or getting to free agency.
I still don't think it would help the running back because I still think the teams would look at them as pieces that are not valuable enough to pay.
And the realization is this has been coming. They have been devaluing it for years.
They should have seen it before the last CBA.
This isn't a straight comparison, but I deal with this all the time in baseball. Look at what a starting pitcher makes versus what a relief pitcher makes. Even a very good relief pitcher, he might pitch in 90 games. He's not getting the contract.
How many
of a
guys have the
top
Pirates
end
found over the
Right.
last 2
You
decades?
can find them, you can plug them in, you can fix them, you can use them a certain way and manipulate the system.
Yeah,
It's the
we
same
got-
way with running backs.
We got to go to a break. When we come back, Pat Narduzzi said an interesting thing about Penn State's offense. We'll get into that when we return right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown.